I used a pattern for the bodice of the dress since I didn't have a whole lot of sewing experience personally. I just wanted to make sure it was something that was going to fit well for my body type. I got this pattern from a local fabric store. All of the patterns were on sale for about $2 a piece, so I thought it would be a good investment for me, just to help make the sewing process easier and not have to redo and buy more fabric. The next thing I did was I just pinned the pattern into place just to help me be able to know where I was going to cut around and just kind of make it easier to see what I was doing. I realized that using patterns can be a little bit tedious, but it definitely helped me get the structure of the bodice a little bit better. It was a long process, and in the future I would almost go with just draping the fabric next time, just since that is a little bit easier for me personally. But to start out with, I think it was a good choice to start with the pattern. We cut out the pieces. We pinned the pieces together and we're just getting them ready to go ahead and just sew them in place. Next step, I wanted to make the sleeves, so I traced a pattern for the sleeve from a previous dress that I already had that had the flutter sleeve. It just made it a little bit easier to see the shoulder length of what I needed and just the overall structure of how the sleeve was made. So I went ahead and just pinned the pins down where I was going to cut out the sleeve, and then I went ahead and cut it out. I doubled it, and we just made two sleeves that were ready to go onto the dress. And this is where I duplicated the sleeve. And here I'm just trying the sleeve onto the previous dress just to see where I was going to sew down onto the dress, how to hem the sleeve, just so that I didn't get it backwards. Next I attached the sleeves to the bodice using some pins, and then this is where I start getting an approximate measurement for the skirt. I knew I was going to be bunching it on the waist, so I just added a little extra around the waistline to accommodate that. Leveled it out, and then I just cut and make a basting stitch. Here I'm gathering the fabric to make a little bit more of a flowy skirt. I attached it to the top, and I'm just leveling out the length that I want it to end at, make sure it fit, and then I'll go ahead and just sew that part on. I repeated it with the bottom layer since I wanted it to be more of a two-tiered dress, so here I did the exact same thing, just gathering the skirt and getting it ready to attach to the first layer. I attached the bottom layer to the top layer. Here you'll just see me lengthening the skirt, trying to get the right width to match the top layer. And this took me a little bit longer than I expected, but it ended up turning out really well. I'm just going to pin that in place. Next I'm going to try on the dress just to see for length of where I want it to end, and then I'm going to sew on the bottom layer onto that top tier. And then I didn't record this part because I forgot, but just go ahead and place a zipper foot and sew in the zipper. I'm trying on the dress again just to adjust the length according to how I wanted it to fall on my body. I cut it off, hemmed it, and I tried it on. And I like that it ended at my ankle length. Again, it just makes it a little bit easier for me to walk since I am a little bit more prone to trip on a longer dress. Here I'm just going to go ahead and adjust the waist size to fit me just a little bit better. And I'll take that in on the sewing machine. And then I'm going to go ahead and just lay out my applique and then cut to the desired length of where I'm going to want it to be on the dress. Then I went ahead and just pinned and sewed it in place. It definitely would have held better if I would have hand sewed it into place, but I was a little bit lazy, so we ended up just using the sewing machine. And I'm going over the edges again just to reinforce the structure of the lace onto the applique. And I'm going to alter the sleeve length just a little bit because I didn't like how it went down to almost my elbow. I wanted it to come more towards the middle of the bicep area. So I'm just going to fold it, sew along the edge, and just make it a little bit more fitting to my body and my style. And I know I wanted to add some buttons on the back just to kind of add a little bit of decoration. So here I'm just going to place the buttons and decide where I want them to fall on the dress just to get a general idea of where they're going to be sewn on. And then I'm going to go ahead and mark those button placements just with a little pin so I can see where I'm going to attach them. And then I'll go ahead and just hand sew those buttons on. I did use more of a cushion type of button so I could just sew it onto the back and I didn't have to go through the buttonholes. It made it just a little bit easier and it was more the style I was going for this overall dress. Alright, and once all those buttons are sewn on, you're ready to move on to the next step. We're just going to add a few more lace appliques just to make the dress a little bit more detailed. I'm going to go ahead and place that lace applique into place, pin it and then move to the other side as well. I'm just going to place them and then pin them to be ready to sew down. Alright, we head back to our sewing machine and we just go ahead and sew on the applique that's for the back side. The edges of the lace began to fold up a little bit, so if you aren't careful to sew around the sides, they might do that a little bit, so just be sure to make sure you're really sewing down the edges before you wear the dress. This went on for quite a while, so this was easily the most time-consuming part of the video for me personally, but you'll figure it out along the way and